Alright, hi, hello, and welcome to my Spider-Man vs. Deku Death Battle review. Today I will be reviewing Death Battle's most recent episode, that being this one, and to give off my overall opinions that are either positive or negative thoughts on the episode. And if you want more content about Death Battle or stuff like movie reviews, please leave a comment, like, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's get started. First off, with Miles' analysis, I wasn't really expecting much since we've had him on the show before as well as Deku, but I'm surprised they didn't really talk more about his story in the comics than more as they talked more about Spider-Verse in any type of way. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just I feel like they elaborated more about his story in Spider-Verse, and I wish they would have talked more about what happened in the comics, like his personal experience training with other superheroes such as Cap or Black Panther, or what he went through after his whole universe blew up, and most importantly, what made him a different Spider-Man than Peter without his cool, nifty electric powers. Now, I will say, I'm heavily amazed on the visuals, on the comic editing, and just everything else. But then again, this is DJ we're talking about, you know, my GOAT. Especially when we're looking at Miles' vibranium suit from Black Panther. And I will say, I really like how they go over Miles' wide variety of powers and what they can do with him using his bioelectricity as electrical constructs, such as him using anime attack moves like the Chidori from Naruto, or even a freaking Kamehameha from Dragon Ball. Maybe he is a little bit of a weeb, but aren't we all? And then would soon elaborate, Miles is no longer known as a sidekick, but is now fighting side by side with Peter as partners. So overall, I could say I really like Miles' analysis, and I just wish they talked more about his story in the comics, instead of just talk about stuff with Spider-Verse that's probably over the top at this point, but that's just me. As for Deku's analysis, I really like his, and I kind of prefer his over Miles. Not because it's bad or anything, at least from my perspective, but I just really like how it hits on where it goes with My Hero Academia, explaining how the story goes. And I can already say that this episode's already better than Deku's last analysis, but go figure, that was literally his last episode that didn't even have My Hero finished at the time. I love how they explained Deku was worthy of wielding One For All after the trials and errors he had to go through, even with All Might saying to him, "Sorry kid, you're gonna have to drop your dreams," only for him to prove him wrong while trying to save Bakugo while being quirkless. I also really like how they explain how he uses One For All and his other variety of quirks. Though I do feel like they did rush through talking about his other variety of quirks, but hey, they already explain as much as they need to with Fajin and Gearship, so there's really not much to complain with. So it's easily excused. And I gotta give DJ more credit on the editing, because the way the manga panels look, it looks like it's like a comic book come to life. And what I love mostly about this analysis is that when Deku does leave UA after the war arc, his classmates went after him even though Deku told them not to follow him. But at the end of the day, they're there for him, not because they're just heroes, but they're his friends just being there for each other, inspiring one another to keep going to become a better hero. And I love how they say that it wasn't One For All, All Might, or Deku that defeat All For One. It was just everyone being there for each other throughout any struggle they go through. Basically, the power of friendship. And that's pretty much what My Hero Academia is, at least to me. Also, W-Ad Store-Bought Benjamin. Now then, as for that fight, I love it. It's so good. Now, I won't say it's perfect because it does have its weaknesses, with some shots looking off point and looking a little off, but I could say it's a very good fight. It starts off with Miles swinging through the city in his comic book art style, with catching up to Deku, as we could see Deku in the manga art style transitioning into Moral's animation, which just looks so crispy. Miles then catches up to Deku while both swing around through the city, and Deku asks Miles for a friendly spar to show him what he's got for a good fight. Probably a small callback to Might Might, but I highly doubt it. I could be wrong, though I never know nowadays. Miles then starts the fight by going invisible and trying to punch Deku while trying to quote Spider-Verse, saying "Don't watch the mouth, watch the hands," which doesn't really make sense in this scenario, which I'll later elaborate on. Deku then dodges with Danger Sense and fires Delaware Smash, which is the only time he shouts a certain attack name until when he goes for the final clash. Miles then dodges Deku's Air Force Blast and tries to hit Deku with a Venom Blast, only for Deku to swing kick him and punch him really hard. And when Miles does get knocked back, you can see the vibranium suit absorbing that hit that he just took from Deku. Miles then tries to swing away from Deku as Deku tries to follow him, only for him to get outsmarted and get caught in Miles' web, showing off his levels of skills and tactics throughout the fight, which they later elaborate on in the post-analysis. Now, I will say, the shot of Deku getting stuck in Miles' web doesn't even look like he's stuck, and he looks more confused than anything. Or a little more, what the heck, when did this get here, type of vibe. Miles then gets ready to propel himself with a bunch of webs and does a Batman vs. Spider-Man reference, kicking Deku so hard that he goes flying. Deku then activates a smoke screen and notes that if he wants to take this fight all out, he has to get him and Miles away from the city so that way no one can get hurt. While Deku stores enough kinetic energy to activate Fajin, which is definitely in character for Deku because he wouldn't really want to get anyone to get hurt, unless we're talking about Deku vs. Asta, with the audience probably getting killed on the debris, whoever that audience was, or if there was ever an audience to begin with. Deku then detects Miles through the smoke screen with danger sense and grabs him, only for him to get shot in the face by Miles' webs, therefore leading Deku to break Miles' web shooters. Miles then compliments Deku on his skills and powers and would hit Miles with a Venom Blast, knocking Deku back. Deku then uses Black Whip and charges up Fajin, and before Miles can swing away, he realizes his web shooters are broken, even though he should have known that when Deku grabbed him by the wrist and broke it. Deku then takes himself and Miles to really old York City, and Deku then uses Black Chain to wrap around a building, while saying they both took them to this part of the city so they both can go all out without having to worry about anyone getting hurt. Because Deku wants to do his best in this fight, literally Deku being the Deku that tries his best. Deku then uses the Black Chain to destroy the building and uses Gear Shift to throw at Miles, only for Miles to use his biowebs to propel himself through the building and going through this cool as hell shot with Miles trying to get out of the building without getting harmed, and then we get this cool Spider-Man pose. Miles then charges up his Venom Sting through his leg and tries to kick Deku, only for Deku to catch it, and then both of them clashing with each other with a punch and kick, knocking each other back. After their clash, Deku then starts to activate Gear Shift by doing that little cool pose, and starts to look more greenier and glowier, while Miles charges up his vibranium suit with his bioelectric power and states that if he wants to do his very best, he'll do it by doing his own thing, by his way. Miles then drops down with Deku jumping up, and then we get this cool shot of both of them trying to collide with each other, by Deku doing the cool Spider-Verse pose, referencing What's Up Danger. And before you ask, yes, this is already my wallpaper for my phone. Oh, don't blame me, you know it's cool. Also, by the way, You Say Danger is an awesome track, and it hits the right notes in the fight, making it more thematic. Miles then uses an electric construct to change into a sword to try to hit Deku with, even though he doesn't even get a single hit with them, only for Deku to use Gear Shift to surpass Miles in speed, just like what he did with his fight with Shigaraki. Both of them then start to trade blows with each other, and we get to see Miles using more of his bioelectric constructs by using his webs to swing Deku away, only to propel himself back, quoting from Sero that his quirk is amazing, only for Miles to say, "Amazing is my buddy," which he's referring to Peter, claiming that he's the ultimate Spider-Man, which is my favorite line in this fight from Miles, as he fires an electric Kamehameha. After Deku dodges Miles' attack, he starts to notice that Miles' suit has shock absorption, not nullification, literally referencing the All Might vs. Nomu fight, knowing that Miles' suit has a limit. Miles then hits Deku with his blast, only for Deku to hit Miles back with a bunch of debris colliding into Miles, only for Miles to blast himself out with his Venom powers. Then we get to see Miles and Deku charging up their final attack, with Miles charging up his electric powers like he's using a Chidori from Naruto, while Deku charges up One for All. And then we see Miles charges at Deku while saying a leap of faith in Spanish, which kind of feels forced, but that's just probably me. As for Deku shouts "Go Beyond," and then they punch, and we get to see a giant shockwave with their energies colliding with each other. Deku then shouts out Plus Ultra during their clash, and we get to see a giant barrage of glowing fists approaching at Miles, referencing the overhaul fight, which hits Miles so hard that his suit can't absorb it all and causes Miles' suit to overload. Deku then realizes that he went too far, and then Miles' suit explodes, creating a giant shockwave, killing him, which is also the second time Miles dies to another explosion. As for my negatives, the only negatives I have is with Miles repeatedly referencing Spider-Verse stuff, which, like I said, there's not a problem with that. It's just, I feel like he's at the point of overdoing it. Yeah, sure, I know they did the same thing with Obi-Wan versus Kakashi, but the only reason why that worked compared to this is because there was so much context between the banter during the fight, making it more iconic and more usable and better. Meanwhile, in this fight, they just have Miles say it just so that way he can look more cool while doing it. But overall, that's literally my only problems with this fight. As for the post-analysis, I say it's really good. I like how they talk about their powers when coming to a tie, since both of them have similar powers, considering Deku is a clear inspiration of Spider-Man. But he has other superpowers that would still be overwhelming to Miles, as the same with Miles' Venom abilities. As for the speed category, I like it how they clearly state that Miles has light speed reaction feats, only with Deku to surpass that thanks to Gear Shift when he blitzed Shigaraki, who can literally react faster than light. And I like how they have Miles with the skill category, since he technically has more skills and experience with training with other superheroes like Captain America or Black Panther and facing off multiversal events, which is something Deku has never done before, showing that Miles is more crafty and as smart as Deku during this fight. And then we get to the final category, which Raw Strength, which came down to the giant Cloud Punch, and yeah, it was pretty obvious that Deku would have this in the bag, considering One For All is literally the powerhouse of all quirks from My Hero, saying that the giant Cloud Punch is not only strong enough to kill Miles, but to overload his suit, causing it to explode with too much pressure. So overall, really good post-analysis. And as for my most wanted episodes, I'm so grateful for the way it did. Like, good fight, good animation, thank you Moro, good transition with the manga and comic book. It's just, I love it. I gave this episode a 10 out of 10. I won't say it's better than Shigaraki versus Mahito, because there's more character development within that episode and within this, but that's probably because Deku and Miles are returning combatants, so I don't know, my opinions might change later on. As for the next time, yeah, I can already tell, Hulk versus Godzilla is going to get very complicated, especially with Hulk's level of feats, which are just super absurd, while Godzilla's multiple crossovers between other comics, which I don't know Death Battle might use, but then again I can be wrong and they could just do that anyway. I don't know who wins for right now, but I'm just gonna say Hulk because, I don't know, third time's a charm, plus I just don't want to see my boy lose a third time. But knowing my luck, I probably won't get lucky, but you know, that's just me. So overall, that's pretty much it for my review. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe for more in the future, and be nice to others, be nice to yourself, and for now, take care and have a great day.